What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar. And today, we're going to talk about none other than should we have a different restriction list paired to JP. So without further ado, let's dive into the video. So, guys, we know that JP kind of has the same restriction list as us. We kind of can see when they hit something, we're going to eventually get hit by it as well. Well, why does it have to be the same where we could definitely wait and see if our format even changes up in any capacity, right? I mean, Crossheart didn't take any top wins. I mean, it took one win, I think, out of the grand total of its lifespan of the 21 days it was legal to actually win events. I mean, don't get me wrong, people were overly prepared to take on Crossheart, which is a major stepping stone compared to others. But you're still walking into a literal minefield with that too. So does using our information justify their restriction list as well? I mean, let's even take a look at JP. The major reason Tommy got hit was because of us, and Jet Sylphie was hit because of them. Because why was it hit because of us? During the end of EX2, we kind of had Blue Hybrid become dominant overnight again. It started topping major events left and right, filling up 8 to 10 slots of a top 16, which that's not healthy in any capacity. I think we are also very blue heavy based, if you noticed, ever since the introduction of, if I remember correctly, it was BT6 was once blue was just straight dominance and took like the throne of best color of the series, because US started playing more and more of like Gabubons and stuff like that, where JP wasn't playing it as much, but they also were playing a very janky version, and that was the ancient bonds list, where that was their more prevalent one, while we went like pure aggro based focus of the Gabubons list from Double Diamond. I mean, BT6 followed on to Blue Hybrid being slightly dampened by Yellow Hybrid, but Blue Hybrid still pulled ahead. And then we lead into, EX2, which right from BT8, it was Imperial Dramon, did a little bit of things, but Blue Hybrid kind of was still going for it. You had Yellow Hybrid starting to rear its ugly head in BT8, nothing too crazy, and most decks was like Imperial Dramon was also playing in most events too. I mean, then we got to EX2, then it became Blue Hybrid shenanigans, and now BT9, we ended up becoming Blue was starting the top. It was top dog of the format. It had more tops than anything else, but you also had like Alphamon trailing behind it, holding it. I mean, we did have that restriction affecting us sooner with our Jet Sylphie and Tommy, so that was a kind of big difference there. If I remember correctly, we can take a look at it. Ours affected December. Theirs affected December. We were August 1st effective, while they were affected before that, if I remember correctly, September 1st as well. So they got hit September 1st, while we got hit August 1st. So that made Yellow Hybrid a little bit less dominant, if I remember correctly. August 1st was basically before... Oh, it was... Yeah. We had... Yellow Hybrid for a couple tourneys in BT9. So that explains that one. Outside of that, I mean, we are seeing that some decks just don't do crazy much once you start looking at it from a outside scale. I mean, if you look at JP's, all their top decks and stuff like that, sometimes they're not playing as heavily as us. Like right now, though, we do have Metal Garurumon being the dominant deck for BT9, EX3, and BT10. So, but that's also because Shoutmon times 4 got a big Hammer Axe You hammer axe the daylights out of Alphamon early. Then you had Sunrise Buster getting hit. Then you had Calling from the Darkness being hit for November, right when we are literally going over to, EX3. Now, preventing decks to go crazy is fine. It balances out the game so that people aren't stuck on one deck. But if, with Durogreymon, it felt like Alphamon didn't really get much time to shine in the spotlight, where people were trying to build this deck as soon as possible. I mean, you had BT9 the whole time, but that wasn't even that much of a format. I mean, we got to October 14th compared to, July 30th. So that was quite a long run with Alphamon, but Alphamon didn't do much. Alphamon wasn't taking dominance like Garurumon was. I mean, we did have a bunch of decks that topped with it in BT9, but everybody was just playing the same coat of paint on a same car, basically. You just had a fresh, different coat of paint for the end result. I mean, what are we going to do with that? There's just times in formats where, decks do need to shine and have some longevity, but a lot of players, I get the frustration that, hey, my deck is, I want to build this deck. Well, now my deck is now completely trash because we're getting a ban list sooner than JP is. JP had it for all this months. That's like a big thing for a lot of players too, is that, let's even just duplicate this. And then we'll go to products for JP. Well, the Japanese format in itself, December 23rd, November 25th, September 30th, July 29th, May 27th. I just figured that out. Okay. But I'm starting to see common trends here that they get a little more time than us with their decks. Yes, they're basically the testing grounds to figure out what is broken and what is not. I mean, in JP, in the Asian aspect, so that's a lot more areas than just Japan, and I don't think Japan really likes Garurumon. I just don't see it very often in just JP lists, but the Garurumon, where Garurumon is, restricted or outright, banned in Asia playing events because of the fact is that they don't have the cards accessible. And I kind of get it, but we'll have to see what happens, what they do once they get the reprint set. I mean, who knows? Maybe in the Asian countries, they boost up in Where Garurumon competitive once they get the reprint stuff going. That could lead to some crazy shenanigans there. But, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to take it with a grain of salt here that, yes, some cards just do need to get hit outright. I mean, Calling from Darkness could have probably survived a couple more formats on us. We wouldn't have really abused it. The only deck that really is abusing it is Imperial Dramon, but the red-purple based one, and that was about it, and I get it. Now you don't have the luxury of spamming out with Calling from Darkness to reset up instantaneously. I mean, that's kind of just how that goes. Then you have like Sunrise Buster that was just really overly powered for an option, and then, Shoutmon x4, who is another deck. I think what they could have done was leave x4 alone, and then maybe restricted Sunrise Buster down to 1. Maybe it's just better to bring cards to 2 copies apiece. I mean, that's another thing about the restriction list, is that it's either ban or to 1. Maybe bringing them to 2 might help out. I mean, Durogreymon at 2 isn't as crazily broken as probably people would test, and I think that needs to be more shown results for what they're trying to do. I mean, even having Shoutmon x4 at 2 wouldn't break the game. The deck wouldn't be too crazy. It would apply pressure, yes, but maybe it wouldn't kill you in a turn if you saw Shoutmon x4 twice. But at moments, it just kills decks straight away. Jet Sylphie, I mean, don't get me wrong, Jet Sylphie to 1 was probably justified, and it shows justification because Yellow Hybrid still does things. You know, Tommy to 1, definitely very useful. You have Mega Digimon Fusion, very useful card. This card being restricted was very, very well needed, and they give good answers to why they're hitting it. I mean, Reinforced Memory Boost restricted to 1. D-Reaper was ridiculous with it. Ice Wall to 1 because, you know, unenjoyable play patterns outweighed the benefit of the card's effect, so we decided to restrict it to 1 per copy deck. You know how that went. Ice Wall game, Ice Wall game, Ice Wall game. You know, 3 Ice Walls in a row always shut you down too hard. Then you have like Savior Huckmon that was restricted because of Chimeramon. Let's be honest, it was not restricted because of its effect. It was restricted because of Chimeramon's spam ability and then getting another Savior from trash underneath just to go into a Jessmon to reswing again. Not fun. You know, Eismon being restricted. You know, the Argomon's hitting potential discovered. Just all these good cards getting hit is benefit for the game at times. But maybe bringing things to maybe instead of 1-ofs to 2-ofs might not break the game. I mean, it does show that sometimes that's all you need to do is step back and go like, okay, silver 1-ofs are fine to certain cards, but some cards can just be at 2 and probably be fine enough where it's not going to break the deck where it's been doing, but now it kind of just balances the deck out. And that's just kind of how that can go. I mean, what do you guys want from it? Like, do you want more stuff to be pushed ahead and stuff like that? Like, I think bringing things down to 2 and spacing it out and seeing where things, if it really needs to come down to 1, go from there. Like, slowly remove the cards, in my opinion, will do more for your formats and bring healthier playstyles, because bringing things down to 1 is just neutering decks completely. Like, yes, we did just have Alphamon take a win, but until I see Alphamon taking like 4 more events, I'm just gonna say, like, great player piloting it, and that's about it. Like, that was a fantastic player, and then seeing certain cards at the right time can always lead to being godsend. You know, I mean, that's just kind of how that goes. Sometimes it's just a good pilot can really deal some damage to a field, especially if people aren't ready for it. It's understandable. And I mean, Alphamon really was the only deck that could toe-to-toe Garurumon X very easily, and that was a huge takeaway for it. So if you can toe-to-toe it, you're already in a better spot than most players. Ed, knowing what he was playing, really made some change up on that list. So that's just something big there. I think at the end of the day, it's tough to say if having different lists will make a big difference. I think the biggest difference that's going to make is these restrictions to 1 and then neutering decks is the problem. I think if we bring it to 2s, certain decks are still playable and they don't just die outright, and then you have potentials, and it's not broken potentials either. It's just consistency. 1 is just kind of really tough because then your deck is either that was running on all 4s is just now trying to run on 1 leg. If you give them 2 legs, the deck can still do something, but they're a little hurt, you know. I think the shooting double in the kneecap and 1 in the arm is not doing it. I think they're killing off decks way too prominently, and I think that can change up if you just restrict copies to 2. I think that would change up the formats really well, and I get that we need to hit certain cards, and I do. But I don't know what they're going to do for BT11 and forwards. The reason I'm saying this is because Blackborg Raymond is going to be a problem, and we need to address that more likely than not. And we know what's going to happen is I'm banking on January. We're going to see an updated ban list. JP is going to hit Blackborg Raymond in some capacity because they need to control that deck. They're already proving that the Greymon engine is way too strong, And we're already proving that where Garurumon, Metal Garurumon X is way too strong. So I would not be surprised by January sometime we're going to see Metal Garurumon go and Black War Greymon get hit some way in capacity, and they're going to hit it hard. So don't go over investing in the decks. I promise you, not the best idea, because if you're trying to max rarity a deck that is basically going top tier, we already proven with, the Crossheart deck, they will neuter you. And, Alphamon, same thing, will neuter you. There's no questions about it. So I don't think the best investment is investing completely in that deck. I know National's coming along, buy low rarity. I promise you, does the same thing. Max rarity that deck is going to hurt once they hit it. And we see how that does all the time. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video and you found this very informative. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It lets you know when I go live next. It really helps out the channel, pushing the algorithm. Let me know down in the comments how you feel about maybe changing up the restriction list in times and stuff like that. So guys, without further ado, hit that like button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!